What would you do if your only choice was to charge unarmed, straight into waves of bullets from enemy machine gun nests, or betray your own unit? Thousands of North Korean soldiers faced exactly that choice. You've probably never heard their story, and that's no accident. This is a hidden chapter of the Korean War. In the next 5 minutes, you'll learn what happened to those soldiers, why they said no, and how the price of that one word followed their lives and the lives of their families. But more on that later. Let's begin with a simple image and a terrifying choice. Imagine the scene. 1950. North Korea invades the South. They advance quickly. Their army marches through Seoul. Victory seems certain for the first 5 minutes. Then the Americans arrive. And very quickly, being a soldier in the Korean People's Army stops being fun. Now, imagine you're there, called up from some remote village, hungry, wearing a uniform that looks more like a worker's jumpsuit than actual military gear. And then you're told to run straight into fortified American positions. These aren't tactical maneuvers. These are wave attacks. Like when Soviet partisans shouting, "Ura!" charged into German machine gun nests, bodies against bullets. No plan, no cover, just you and death, side by side. Some cracked, but not out of fear, out of courage. That's when some decided to charge, not toward bullets, but toward hope, toward the South, toward the unknown. But here's the question: what happened to them afterward? This isn't a story about cowards. This is a story about human instinct, ideology, and the price of survival. And as you'll see, the regime wasn't just hunting enemies, it punished anyone who dared to imagine a different future. But this wasn't like sneaking out of gym class. Desertion in North Korea meant a bullet to the head. If they caught you, your story ended no trial, no mercy. And if you managed to slip through minefields, patrols, and the chaos of the front, congratulations, you now belonged to the United Nations, and that might have been your first hot meal in weeks. Here's where the facts get even more staggering. During the war, tens of thousands of North Korean soldiers were captured or surrendered. Most were young men starving and confused. And now the shock. More than 7,000 of them refused to return home after the war. Yes, you read that right when given the choice to return to the workers' paradise of Kim Il-sung or remain imprisoned in South Korean camps, they chose to stay. Better that than returning to a country where the attempt to survive gets you punished. But this rebellion wasn't always silent. Some saw that there was a third option. What do you think it was? They decided to organize. They formed anti-communist guerrilla units, so-called donkey units. And yes, that was the real name. These units sabotaged railways, freed prisoners, and were a thorn in the side of the North Korean military. At their peak, they had over 10,000 fighters. They were invisible to most of the world, but very real to those who hunted them. I'll talk about their fate after the war in one of the upcoming videos. Some escapes looked like something out of a film. In 1953, pilot No Kum-sok stole a MiG-15, the most advanced Soviet plane of the time, and flew it to South Korea. He didn't even know the Americans were offering $100,000 to anyone who delivered one. He just wanted to escape. He landed and immediately got a check. Capitalism, brother. But this isn't a feel-good story, because for every successful defector, there were many who didn't make it. If you were caught trying to escape, torture, execution, or worse, a one-way ticket to a labor camp. The regime had another particularly cruel tactic. If you were captured or surrendered, they considered you dead. To them, you no longer existed. And your family? In many cases, they paid the price guilt by bloodline. Your father defects. The son ends up in a mine. The mother in a labor camp. Sisters disappear. And what if you were sent back in a prisoner exchange? Welcome home now, go to the firing squad. Many were shot the moment they stepped off the transport. Others were sent directly to labor camps. No trial. No questions, just punishment. This wasn't war, this was erasure. Some just wanted to survive, to eat, to go home, to live a single day without artillery in their ears. That's the heart of this story. And if you think it only happened in the North, you're gravely mistaken. What if I told you that it wasn't just North Korean soldiers thinking about escape? South Korean troops, poorly trained, poorly equipped, abandoned in chaos, also started asking themselves, what's the point? Some looked around and saw their lines collapsing, their officers gone, their units falling apart, and they too chose survival. Some dropped their weapons, some withdrew. Some became prisoners not just of war, but of history. This isn't just a clash between communism and democracy. This is a story about what people do when the system betrays them. Because when elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And that's exactly what happened here. While empires counted territory and bombing runs, those who paid the highest price were ordinary people who didn't want to conquer the world, just to hold someone one more time who might still be waiting for them at home.